The vast expanse of the universe stretched endlessly, dotted with stars and vibrant planets. Among them, Earth had become a point of interest for many alien species. It was a planet of unique life forms, filled with creatures who had a fiery spirit. Among them was Commander Sarah Blake, a fierce leader known for her determination and courage. On this particular day, Sarah stood in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, an impressive structure orbiting a massive blue planet. The room was filled with representatives from various alien races, each one more advanced than Earth in their technology and abilities. The atmosphere was tense yet electric, with anticipation buzzing in the air. The Glorans, a race renowned for their advanced technology and superior intelligence, were particularly dominant. They were tall and slender, with shimmering skin that changed colors with their emotions. Today, they had come to Earth to initiate diplomatic talks, but Sarah sensed an underlying arrogance in their demeanor. As the meeting began, the Gloran leader, Zarnak, rose to speak. His voice echoed through the chamber as he addressed the gathered representatives. "We have come to discuss the future of our intergalactic relations. However, first, let us examine Earth's military capabilities." A projection flickered to life, showcasing images of Earth's outdated weapons and defense systems. Laughter erupted among the alien representatives, a cacophony of mocking tones and derisive remarks. "Primitive arms," one Gloran snickered, pointing a long, slender finger at the screen. "How quaint. Do you still rely on these relics?" Sarah felt her heart race as the laughter intensified. She could see her fellow humans, a small group in the corner, shifting uncomfortably. The mocking tone of the Glorans was unmistakable. They were belittling not just the technology, but the very spirit of humanity. "This is embarrassing," whispered a young scientist beside her. "We shouldn't even be here. We are outclassed." "No," Sarah said firmly, her voice steady. "We must show them that we are more than our technology. We are resilient. We will not be humiliated." The Glorans continued their ridicule. "Do you truly believe you can stand against us? Your so-called military would crumble in an instant." "A mere joke." Zarnak's voice was dripping with condescension. In that moment, Sarah made a decision. She stood tall and looked directly at Zarnak, her gaze unwavering. "We accept your challenge. If you believe us to be so inferior, let us engage in a simulation battle. We will show you what humanity is capable of." The laughter died down, replaced by a heavy silence. Zarnak raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet amused. "Very well, Commander. We will grant you this opportunity. Prepare your team, and we shall meet in 3 cycles." As Sarah took her seat, her mind raced with possibilities. Could they really go through with this? The odds were against them, but she felt a flicker of determination igniting within her. She glanced at her team, who were exchanging worried looks, but her heart told her that this was their chance. The meeting concluded, and as the aliens filed out, Sarah gathered her team. "We need to prepare," she said, her voice strong. "We may not have the advanced technology they do, but we have something they don't: a will to fight. We need to think creatively and find a way to show them our strength." As they exited the chamber, the weight of her words hung in the air. The Glorans had underestimated humanity, and Sarah was determined to prove them wrong. Outside, the stars twinkled in the dark sky, a reminder of the challenges ahead. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, Sarah's mind turned to the task at hand. The world had laughed at their primitive arms, but soon they would see that humanity was far from defenseless. In the depths of space, under the watchful eyes of the galaxy, the countdown to the simulation battle began. With each passing moment, Sarah felt the pressure mount. But deep down, she knew that this was more than just a battle. It was a chance for humanity to stand tall against the odds. The Galactic Council's chamber echoed with the remnants of laughter as the last alien representatives departed. Commander Sarah Blake stood at the center of the room, surrounded by her team. Each member wore a mix of determination and anxiety on their faces, reflecting the gravity of the challenge ahead. The room was a blend of advanced technology and outdated Earth artifacts, a reminder of the gap they needed to bridge. "All right, team," Sarah began, her voice firm and steady. "We have 3 cycles to prepare for this simulation. We may not have the technology of the Glorans, but we have creativity, ingenuity, and the spirit of humanity on our side." A young engineer named Leo spoke up. "But Commander, what do we even know about their technology? How can we prepare without understanding what we're up against?" Sarah nodded, understanding his concerns. "We'll do our best to gather intelligence. We can study their past battles and simulations. Let's find out what makes their technology tick." As the team dispersed to their tasks, Sarah sat down at the central control console. The screen flickered to life, displaying a wealth of data about the Gloran fleet. Charts, images, and videos scrolled by as she absorbed every detail. Their ships were sleek and advanced, equipped with energy shields and plasma weapons. A shiver of doubt crept into her mind, but she pushed it away. This was their moment to shine. In the engineering bay, Leo and his fellow engineers began brainstorming. They pored over schematics of Earth's military technology. "We may not have their firepower, but what about our tactics?" Leo suggested. "We could use guerrilla warfare strategies and unconventional tactics. We can outsmart them." Across the room, a weapons specialist named Mia chimed in. "What if we modified our existing weapons? We can increase their impact, even if we can't match the aliens' technology." The team buzzed with ideas, each suggestion igniting another. Sarah listened, her heart swelling with pride. They were coming together, united by a common goal. They would not be a punchline. They would be warriors. After hours of intense discussion, the team finalized their plan. They would utilize the element of surprise. Instead of a direct assault, they would deploy decoys and feints, drawing the Glorans into a trap. Sarah's plan hinged on creating confusion, taking advantage of the aliens' assumptions about human combat. As preparations continued, Sarah made her way to the training facility. The room was filled with the sounds of boots hitting the ground and the hum of energy weapons being tested. Soldiers practiced their combat moves, honing their skills. She watched as they trained, pushing themselves to their limits. Each sweat-drenched face mirrored the same determination she felt inside. "Listen up," she called, gathering the troops. "We're about to face an opponent that underestimates us. They think we are primitive, that we are weak. But we are strong in ways they cannot comprehend. We will show them the heart of humanity." Cheers erupted from the soldiers, their spirits lifted by her words. She could see the fire igniting in their eyes. They were ready to prove themselves, ready to show the galaxy that humans were not to be trifled with. As the countdown to the simulation continued, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The Glorans had made their move, and now it was time for humanity to respond. She knew they had prepared as best they could, but doubts lingered in the back of her mind. Would it be enough? The day of the simulation arrived, and the team gathered in the control room. Screens displayed the Gloran fleet preparing for the engagement, their sleek ships moving with precision. Sarah's heart raced as the countdown began. "Remember," she reminded them, "this is not just a battle. It's a chance to redefine how the galaxy sees us. Trust in our plan, trust in each other." The final seconds ticked away, and Sarah held her breath. As the virtual battlefield loaded on the screens, she could see the Glorans laughing and mocking. They believed they had already won, but they had no idea what humanity was capable of. With a firm grip on the console, Sarah prepared for the battle ahead. The moment had arrived. The time for action was now, and the galaxy was about to witness the strength of humanity. "He plan," Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. The team quickly activated their decoys, small drones designed to mimic human ships. They scattered across the battlefield, creating a chaotic illusion of a full human fleet. The Glorans, confident and dismissive, took the bait. "Look at them," Leo whispered, his eyes wide with excitement. "They think they've already won." As the Gloran fleet began to engage the decoys, Sarah felt a rush of adrenaline. This was the moment they had prepared for, the chance to show the galaxy that humans were more than they appeared. "Now," she shouted, "activate our weapon systems." The team pressed buttons in unison, and the control room erupted in cheers as their ships fired back. Energy beams and missiles illuminated the dark void, striking true against the unsuspecting Gloran fleet. For a brief moment, shock rippled through the alien ranks. But just as victory seemed within reach, disaster struck. The Glorans, realizing they had been fooled, quickly regrouped. Their advanced targeting systems locked onto Sarah's fleet with ruthless efficiency. "They're counterattacking," Mia shouted, her voice laced with urgency. The screens flickered as explosions erupted, and the simulation shifted to chaos. Ships spun out of control, and Sarah's heart sank as she watched her team's hard work unravel before her eyes. "Regroup. Execute evasive maneuvers," she commanded, trying to rally her troops amidst the chaos. As the simulation raged on, Sarah noticed something strange. One of the Gloran ships broke away from the formation, heading directly toward the decoy fleet. It moved with a speed and precision that was alarming. "What are they doing?" she wondered aloud. "They shouldn't be able to focus on a single target like that." "Commander, it looks like they're sending in a boarding party," Leo shouted, his eyes wide with disbelief. "They think our decoys are real ships." The realization hit Sarah like a cold wave. The Glorans believed they could take out humanity by boarding their ships. It was a risky move that could lead to catastrophic consequences. "We need to stop them," she yelled. "Redirect our forces to protect the decoys." In a split second, the team sprang into action. Sarah coordinated with her team, directing ships to intercept the boarding party. But they were outnumbered, and the odds were stacked against them. The Gloran vessels were equipped with advanced technology, and their soldiers were known for their ruthlessness. With every passing second, the situation grew more dire. The decoys flickered under the barrage of enemy fire, and Sarah felt a sense of desperation wash over her. The Glorans were laughing at their primitive tactics, but they didn't realize how deeply human resilience ran. "Commander, what do we do?" Maya asked, her voice trembling with fear. Sarah took a deep breath, forcing herself to think clearly. "We have to show them our true strength. Use everything we have, every weapon, every tactic. This is our moment to redefine how the galaxy sees us." With renewed determination, Sarah and her team launched a counteroffensive. They mixed traditional human strategies with quick thinking and ingenuity. They turned the tables, ambushing the Gloran boarding party and using the environment to their advantage. As the Glorans boarded the decoys, they were met with an unexpected level of resistance. Humans fought with tenacity, outmaneuvering their alien opponents despite the odds. The simulation was no longer just a test. It had transformed into a fight for survival. Outside the control room, the sounds of combat echoed through the ship, mingling with the shouts of Sarah's team. They had turned the tables, and the tide of battle began to shift. "We're doing it," Leo exclaimed, his eyes bright with hope. They didn't see this coming. But as the dust settled, Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The Glorans would retaliate, and the humans had to be ready. They were no longer the underdogs. They were fierce competitors, determined to prove their worth. As the simulation continued, Sarah looked around at her team. Their faces were smeared with sweat, but their spirits soared high. They had turned a moment of mockery into a fight for recognition. She could feel the tides of change shifting in their favor. With renewed vigor, Sarah leaned over the console, her heart racing. They would show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. They were not just a punchline. They were warriors ready to stand their ground. The control room buzzed with tension as the simulation progressed. Sarah's heart raced, her mind a whirlwind of strategies and possibilities. They had fought valiantly against the Gloran boarding party, but the battle was far from over. The Glorans, now realizing the human spirit and ingenuity, would not take this lightly. "Status report," Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chatter. Leo quickly tapped his console, his brow furrowed in concentration. We've sustained some damage to our decoys, but our forces are still holding. The Glorans are regrouping, but they're frustrated. They didn't expect us to fight back like this. Mita's eyes darted across the screens. They're communicating with each other. I can see their chatter, and it's not good. They're planning a coordinated assault to eliminate us. The reality of the situation sunk in. The Glorans had underestimated humanity, and now they were angry. We need to outsmart them, Sarah said, her mind racing. Let's set a trap. They think they have us on the run, but we'll turn the tables again. With renewed determination, the team set to work. They devised a plan to lure the Glorans into a narrow corridor of asteroids, where their superior numbers would become a disadvantage. If we can draw them in, we can ambush them, Sarah instructed, her eyes lighting up with excitement. The team quickly implemented their strategy, using their remaining ships to create a decoy fleet that would draw the Glorans into the asteroid field. As the human ships moved into position, Sarah felt a surge of hope. This was their chance to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. As the Gloran ships approached the asteroid field, Sarah watched the screens with bated breath. They're taking the bait, Leo exclaimed. They're moving in. Hold your fire until they're in position, Sarah ordered, her heart pounding. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This was their opportunity to prove themselves, not just to the Glorans, but to the entire galaxy. Suddenly, the first wave of Gloran ships entered the asteroid field, their sleek forms weaving through the rocky terrain. Now, Sarah shouted, her voice full of urgency. The human fleet unleashed a barrage of fire, energy beams cutting through the dark space like lightning. The Glorans were caught off guard, their ships crashing into asteroids as they struggled to respond. The control room erupted into cheers as the humans successfully ambushed the Gloran fleet. But amidst the chaos, Sarah's heart sank. They're regrouping, she yelled. They're not done yet. The Glorans, now realizing they had underestimated their opponents, initiated their counteroffensive. We can't let them escape, Mia shouted, her fingers flying over her console. We have to keep the pressure on. The humans pressed forward, their ships maneuvering skillfully through the asteroid field. But just as it seemed victory was within reach, the Gloran flagship emerged from the chaos. It was a massive ship, bristling with weapons and advanced technology, and it bore down on the humans with relentless speed. This isn't good, Leo muttered, his face pale. That ship is designed for annihilation. Stay focused, Sarah yelled, rallying her team. We can't let fear take over. We've fought this far. We can't back down now. As the flagship approached, Sarah remembered something her father used to say. A single strong hand can turn the tide of battle. She decided to lead the charge against the flagship, hoping to disrupt its systems. Form up on me, she commanded, her voice steady. We're going in. The human ships swarmed toward the flagship, their hearts pounding as they prepared for what seemed like a suicide mission. But as they closed the distance, Sarah spotted a weak point in the flagship's defenses, a gap in its shield. Target that opening, she shouted. That's our chance. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah took the lead, her ship barreling toward the flagship. The rest of her fleet followed closely, firing every weapon they had. Energy beams lit up the dark void as they unleashed their fury. In a blinding flash, they struck the weak point, and the flagship shuddered under the impact. The control room fell silent, eyes wide with disbelief. Did we hit it? Maya asked, barely able to breathe. Yes, Leo exclaimed, a mixture of awe and disbelief in his voice. We actually did. But the Glorans were not finished. The flagship retaliated, firing back with a barrage of energy blasts. Sarah's heart raced as she fought to maneuver her ship. We have to get out of here, she shouted, urging her team to stay focused. Just then, A sudden explosion rocked the control room. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered as chaos erupted. "We're taking damage," Leo shouted, frantically trying to stabilize their systems. "Don't give up," Sarah yelled, her voice cutting through the panic. "We've come too far to back down now." They fought through the chaos, each human determined to show the Glorans their true strength. The tide of battle had shifted, and Sarah knew they were on the brink of something monumental. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for respect. As the flagship continued to fire, the human fleet pressed forward, their determination shining brighter than the weapons they wielded. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The atmosphere in the control room was thick with tension. Alarms continued to blare, and the lights flickered ominously, casting shadows on the faces of the crew. Sarah stood at the helm, her heart pounding as she assessed the damage. The Gloran flagship loomed large on the view screen, its weaponry charging for another devastating assault. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "Shields are down to 20%, Leo replied, sweat beading on his forehead. "We can't take another hit like that." "Then we need to make this count," Sarah said, her determination unwavering. "We've come too far to back down now. If we can disable their flagship, we might turn the tide of this battle." Mia, her eyes wide with concern, chimed in. "But how do we get close enough? Their defenses are still active." "Leo, is there any way to disrupt their systems?" Sarah asked, urgency lacing her words. Leo's fingers flew over the console as he considered the options. "We could try to overload their systems with a focused energy pulse. It might create a temporary blackout, giving us the opening we need." "Do it," Sarah commanded. "We'll be right behind you." As Leo worked feverishly, Sarah turned to her team, her gaze fierce. "This is our moment. We show them what humanity is capable of. We won't be dismissed as primitive any longer." With the crew rallied and focused, Leo initiated the pulse. A moment of silence filled the room as they held their breath, waiting for the outcome. Suddenly, the view screen flickered, and the Gloran flagship's lights dimmed. "Now," Sarah shouted, "charge in." The human fleet surged forward, their ships gliding through the debris of the battlefield. Sarah felt adrenaline course through her veins as she led the charge, her eyes locked on the flagship. "Stay on target," she urged her team. "We're going for that weak point again." As they approached, the flagship struggled to regain its footing. It was their moment. Sarah guided her ship into position, adrenaline fueling her every decision. "Fire," she commanded, and the fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The beams struck true, hitting the weak point with precision. The flagship shuddered violently, smoke billowing from its sides. Cheers erupted in the control room, but Sarah knew better than to celebrate too soon. "Keep the pressure on," she yelled. "We can't let them regroup." Suddenly, the flagship fired back with renewed fury. Beams of energy shot through the void, forcing Sarah to maneuver her ship with all her skill. "Watch out," Leo shouted as one of the blasts grazed their hull, sending a shockwave through the control room. "We can't let fear take hold," Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We've come too far." As the flagship continued to fire, Sarah felt a fierce determination rise within her. "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who has ever been underestimated," she proclaimed. The fleet rallied around her words, their resolve strengthened. They pressed forward, firing at the flagship with everything they had. The flagship's shields flickered under the onslaught, and Sarah could see their advantage growing. Then the unexpected happened. A bright flash erupted from the flagship, and an escape pod shot out into the void. "They're abandoning ship," Mia shouted, eyes wide with disbelief. "They're giving up." The crew erupted in cheers, but Sarah's heart sank. "No, we can't let them escape to regroup. We need to finish this. Target the escape pod," Leo urged, his hands shaking with excitement and fear. As they locked onto the pod, Sarah hesitated for a brief moment. They had fought valiantly to prove their worth, but at what cost? "No," she shouted, shaking her head. "We won't stoop to their level. We've already shown them our strength." With that decision made, Sarah ordered her fleet to hold fire. The Gloran flagship's systems flickered, and it drifted into the darkness, a symbol of their defeat. The control room fell silent as the realization of their victory settled in. They had done it. They had stood up against an overwhelming force and shown the galaxy that humanity would not be underestimated. "Status report," Sarah shouted, her heart racing with pride. "Flagship disabled. Escape pod confirmed," Leo replied, a look of awe on his face. "We did it, Sarah. We actually did it." Cheers erupted in the control room, echoing through the ship. Sarah stood tall, a smile breaking across her face. They had proven themselves, not just to the Glorans, but to the entire galaxy. But deep inside, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, and they had only scratched the surface. But one thing was certain: humanity was ready to face whatever lay ahead. "We've shown them our strength," she said, her voice steady. "And we won't back down again." As the crew celebrated their hard-fought victory, Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of pride wash over her. They were not just humans. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the universe would know their name. The control room was buzzing with excitement. The crew had proven their worth in battle, and the victory over the Gloran flagship had sent ripples throughout the galaxy. As the cheers died down, Sarah took a moment to collect her thoughts. They had achieved the impossible, but the aftermath weighed heavily on her. "Everyone, listen up," Sarah called, raising her hand to silence the room. "We've fought bravely, but we must remember why we're here. This isn't just about proving ourselves. It's about protecting our home and our future." The crew nodded, their expressions shifting from celebration to solemnity. Leo, still at the console, looked up. "What's the status of the escape pod?" he asked, his voice serious. Mia checked the readings. "It's on a trajectory toward the outer reaches of the system. We need to make sure they don't return with reinforcements." "Agreed," Sarah replied. "Prepare a strike team. We need to retrieve any intelligence from that pod before it escapes into deep space." The crew quickly got to work, gathering their gear and preparing for the mission. Sarah felt a sense of pride in her team. They had all risen to the challenge and shown incredible courage. But there was no time to dwell on their victory. The threat of the Glorans still loomed large. As they approached the escape pod, the tension in the air was palpable. Sarah led the strike team, consisting of Leo, Mia, and a few other skilled crew members. They boarded a smaller craft, ready to intercept the pod. "Stay sharp," Sarah instructed as they took off. "We don't know what kind of defenses they might have." The pod was drifting silently in space, and Sarah's heart raced with anticipation. "We need to board it quickly," she said. "We can't let them send out a distress signal." As they closed in, they noticed the pod was heavily damaged, likely from their earlier assault. Sarah signaled for Leo to prepare the docking clamps. The team held their breath as the clamps locked onto the pod, creating a bridge between their ship and the Gloran craft. "On my mark," Sarah said, her pulse quickening. 3, 2, 1, go. They burst into the pod, weapons raised. The interior was dark and cramped, with flickering lights illuminating the scene. The crew quickly scanned the space for any threats. The silence was eerie, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing against the metal floor. Suddenly, they spotted a Gloran in a corner, its alien features twisted in fear. "Don't shoot," it cried, raising its hands in surrender. "I mean no harm." Sarah exchanged glances with her team. "Speak quickly." "We have no time for games," she warned, keeping her weapon trained on the alien. "I can help you," the Gloran said, its voice trembling. "I am a scientist. I can give you valuable information about our fleet and plans. Just let me go." Why should we trust you? Maya shot back, skepticism evident in her voice. Because you've already defeated our flagship, the Gloran replied, desperation lacing its tone. I have seen how strong you are. I would rather align with you than be your enemy. Sarah hesitated, weighing her options. They had defeated the Gloran forces, but this could be a chance to gain crucial intelligence that could turn the tide of future conflicts. All right, she said finally, lowering her weapon slightly. But if you betray us, I won't hesitate to end you. The Gloran nodded eagerly, relief washing over its features. I promise. Follow me. I will show you everything. As they moved deeper into the pod, the Gloran led them to a control panel. This will give you access to our fleet's coordinates and communication logs, it explained, its hands trembling as it worked the controls. Leo peered over the alien's shoulder, his eyes widening. This is incredible. If we can decipher this, we'll know their movements and plans. As the information began to download, Sarah felt a sense of hope rising within her. This could be the key to ensuring peace, or at least a temporary truce. But she remained vigilant, knowing the risks involved in trusting an enemy. Once the download finished, Sarah signaled her team to prepare for extraction. We're taking you with us, she said to the Gloran. You'll be under our protection. The Gloran nodded, fear and gratitude in its eyes. As they boarded their craft, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter could change everything. Let's head back, she instructed, her heart heavy with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, and the Gloran's information could be the key to navigating the challenges they would inevitably face. As they flew back to their ship, Sarah looked out at the stars, her mind racing with possibilities. They had proven their strength, but the real test was yet to come. They were not just fighting for survival. They were paving the way for humanity's place in the universe. But with this new ally, perhaps they could find a way to foster understanding rather than conflict.